how is social media influencing foreign policy?
I don't think we know yet, but we've seen the beginnings and glimmers of this. We saw that when Facebook was translated into Spanish, it was used by people in Colombia to organize against FARC. We saw Claudio Gonzalez, formerly of the UNHCR, who was here at DLD yesterday, talking about how handing smaller cameras out to people in refugee camps enabled them to tell their stories and to change the agenda of how this works. So I think we're seeing these first glimmers of experiments with this. I think it's also very important that Google was the first institution to stand up to China and China's dictatorship. And I think that's very, very important. And that comes out of the internet and an ability to, it's in Google's interest to protect the internet and the cloud from this kind of interference of a dictator. It's in their interest, at last they see it, to protect free speech. But it comes from knowing that they have that support of the social web to do that. And they had more courage in the end than the United States, Germany, or big companies like Nokia, Siemens, or Cisco. Again, I think you're very early in on these questions. Clay Shirky at New York University wrote a wonderful book called Here Comes Everybody, How We Can Organize Without Organizations. And that's the key element of this. I think that people can organize around issues and needs that matter to them and do it in new ways. Now, the next question you're really asking is, can they then affect big institutions? I don't know, but I'm doing a session at Davos, the World Economic Forum, next week on somewhat exactly this, from the institutional perspective. What about big international organizations, and how can they use social media to change? And the first word on the agenda is transparency. They need to change the way they operate. They need to see the benefit in how that comes. They need to change the relationship they have with their constituencies, and then see what comes of that. Now, reverse that question. You're asking about, can people organize to make them change? I hope so, but we don't know yet. I don't think we've seen it yet. Yeah, I think that's there, and again, to quote Clay Shirky, he says the problem in the world we have today online is not too much information, too much stuff, it's filter failure. It's not finding the good stuff. And so I think that, yes, you're right, that you want to filter out the bad stuff. That's true pretty much in any conversation. You go walk down the street, hear people talk politics, there's some idiots among them, and there's some mad people among them, and there's some smart people among them. And the problem is now you can see them all and hear them all. And there's great advantage in that, but there's the cost of having to do the filtering. No, I don't think we necessarily need new technology, because we pretty much already have it, and at the end of the day, it has to be a human decision you make, that this makes sense and that doesn't make sense. The algorithm won't ever do that. So you can gather the people, you can come up with some tricks and so on, but at the end of the day, it's human to human organizing. Well, there are efforts to come up with algorithmic ways to help you do this, to find the authoritative people and so on. In essence, we all moderate ourselves, right? We all say, I trust that person, I don't trust that person. And it isn't necessarily one size fits all. You may trust someone I don't trust, and vice versa. So yes, there are tools, there's moderation needed, but I think that part of the problem with the notion of interactivity has been that it's media saying, we made this and now we'll allow you to comment on it. And then people come in and they comment, and no one from the media speaks to them, so they think they're yelling at a brick wall, and they get louder and louder and nastier and nastier. And then the people behind the media say, see, they're brozos. That's where we are in this. I think we've got to turn around instead to a notion of collaboration. Rather than just commenting on this finished product, allegedly finished from media, how do we pick a task and find ways to use the internet to collaborate to actually accomplish things? And then when you do that, I think it necessarily becomes more positive. Well, join in with our effort to do this. You don't want to join in? Well, don't join in. Right? We're not asking you to comment on this, we're asking you to help do something. So Wikipedia is about creating an asset. Firefox is about creating an asset. What could you do in this world where people come together and try to create a social asset?